Welcome to your Daily Detroit for Thursday, July 25th, 2019. I'm Jer Stays. Today we take a trip to the near eastside suburb of Grosse Pointe Park. There's a new pizza joint out that way called The Bricks. Me, Randy Walker and Shianne Nocerini checked out a preview of this elevated neighborhood spot, and well, we had plenty of thoughts. But first, we're welcoming a new sponsor. Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Lawrence Tech. Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life, but LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most classes are conveniently offered evenings at LTU's beautiful Southfield campus or online. So you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Find out more at ltu.edu, and we'll have a link in the show notes. That's ltu.edu. Already joining me in the studio, Randy Walker. Welcome
Howdy.
to Daily Detroit.
Happy to be back.
Yes, sir. And of course, Shianne Nocerini.
Hey, everybody.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. Today, we are gathered here to talk about a brand new place we had a chance to preview before it opens at the beginning of next month. It's called The Bricks. Specifically, it's in Grosse Pointe Park, the corner of Kercheval and Lake Point. So, first impressions, everybody walking up to this place. What are your thoughts?
I really like that the patio is surrounded by potted herbs. They're growing herbs that they're using in the kitchen. So there was thyme, rosemary, chives, a couple different kinds of basil, it looked like, sage.
I mean, it's quite a list. I mean, it looked really cool out there. And it's a really welcoming space. I personally like the two big garage doors that kind of opened up into the triangular shaped patio. And the view from there is really great. I mean, that neighborhood of Grosse Pointe Park is very walkable. There's a ton of like residential right around there. You're going to feel like one of the most like city urban environments you're going to find in Metro Detroit right there.
Right. I have a very fond memory of this corner, mainly because I grew up just down the street on Lake Point. And so this was my old stomping grounds from like childhood all the way up to my 20s before I moved. So it was really nice to see that they've taken so much care with renovating this building, because even before it was Robot Garage, and then before that it was a little consignment shop.
And then there was a print shop, right?
Right.
Way back in the day. So
Way
you
back.
kind of have some stories about that.
Right. Way back in the day when I was a child, I went to this print shop with my dad because my dad had his own business, and he would get his business cards and his invoice pads from this print shop. So walking in there was a bunch of sentimentality for me, and it was completely different than the layout used to be, because the door, they even like moved the front door so it's closer to rustics. Whereas before it was actually on the corner, so you would step up into the shop.
Well, and there's a lot happening along this area. Now, Grosse Pointe is a community known for kind of staying the same, but there's been some changes over the last few years. And that street there, Kercheval, and I'm only going to talk about Kercheval here, but there are plenty of places to check out just a couple blocks away. But you could go from one end and you can go to Red Crown. You could hop through Rustic. You can now hop through the Bricks. You've got Atwater right there. You've got My Dad's Bar. I mean, you've got quite a lineup of places to check out within stumbling distance if you live in that neighborhood. Or if you decide to Uber in or check out the neighborhood, you could spend a whole night out this way.
You really could. Also, I do want to point out Cornwall Bakery. You've got plenty of places to choose and stop.
Well, back to the Bricks, one of the things I really liked, I think there's a couple things that stood out to me. I like the memorabilia, of course. I like the layout of the bar kind of being back a little bit, kind of secluded. It was neat by the pizza oven, which, Randy, later on, we're going to talk about this great pizza oven and the fact that these guys are crazy. They've got a mill in the restaurant, which is pretty insane. But you've got a seating area. You go, there is a section for video games, which is kind of cool, 4-player Pac-Man. And then they've got like a little private dining area for what I think when we talked to the chef, talked about having a very community vibe with the place.
Right. They even said if you are an old East Sider, they even made mention of Club 500.
Wow, that's a deep cut. And they had a photo of the old Esquire Theater.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they really want this to be like a community, family oriented kind of restaurant where it's your neighborhood restaurant where you stop in for a drink, maybe some pizza, but also it could also be a destination place.
Well, Randy, why don't we start talking about the food a little bit? Because this is a restaurant after all. and that's the main attraction. What were you into? What did you like? What did you notice about the place?
Yeah, so they gave us kind of a tasting menu as a preview of what they'll be serving when they do open up. So we didn't get to try everything they had, but what we did have was great. I really enjoyed the Meat Lovers pizza, had sausage, pepperoni on it, and also, surprisingly, their vegetarian pomodoro pizza was really good too. They had topped it with tomato confit, which is tomatoes slow cooked in olive oil.
Well, I think in part because of the mill and the oven, that dough on all that stuff was really on point and really fresh. It really stood out.
Yeah, using the mill they have in the back, they grind their own grain for use in not only the pizza dough, but also the bread appetizer they provided us and for the pasta.
Well, and checking that thing out, it was a pretty crazy room back there. Because I guess, and I am no expert in bread making, but I believe there's kind of like special precautions you have to take with that stuff, right?
Yeah, because of all of the tiny particles of flour in the area, there is potential for explosion if there is a flame or a spark in the room. So they actually do have to basically bomb-proof the room in case there is an accident. It'll prevent the rest of the building from going as well.
Wow. Everything's safe. Everything will be good. And they took all kinds of precautions, but it's really neat to see them do that. So Randy, you had a chance to talk to Chef Trenton Chamberlain, which by the way, that name just sounds like something straight out of like a Sherlock Holmes book or something like that. What did he have to say?
Yeah, so they're trying to focus on local food. They're actually partnered with Fox Hollow Farms in Metamora to provide a lot of the produce. They'll eventually be trying to grow the grain there as well. They are currently trying to source all of their produce from within, and all of their product in general, from within 100 miles of the restaurant.
I like that locally sourced kind of thing. And what struck me about this place is I kind of feel like it's an elevated neighborhood pizza joint. Am I kind of on the mark with that, or am I missing it?
Yeah, it definitely feels like a pizza joint, a little more upscale in the decor. You don't have the red check tablecloth, for example, that you might find in an older neighborhood.
Who does red
pizza
check
joint.
tablecloth anymore? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
does
It's-
Mama-
Who has seen that recently?
Wait, does Mama Rosa's have
I think
that?
no. I think they changed that out.
They did.
I think even they changed that out when
Yeah,
they
you're
ripped
right.
out the boots. For context, Mama Rosa's is a pizza joint at Lake Point and Mac, and it's been there forever and a day. And I remember when there was big old banquettes and it looked like a mafioso hangout. But now it's quite a bit modernized. But let's get back to the bricks. For me, one of the dishes that stood out, I thought it was kind of interesting. Chef really seemed to like spelt. That seemed to be a type of grain. He was just into it. So I went ahead and did the spelt bucatini with pecorino and cracked black pepper. And I'll tell you, I like simple pasta dishes like that. When I'm at home, I will make stuff with just black pepper, a little of olive oil, and let the pasta stand out. And I think it did a really good job. Now, some people might not be into that spelt kind of feel because it definitely has a different mouthfeel. It doesn't have as many glutens as like your normal pasta. And so it's going to be a little bit less al dente. I mean, what were others' thoughts on that one?
It had great flavor, but I don't particularly care for the texture. A little gummier rather than the chewiness you would get from a stronger gluten pasta.
I agree. I do like more of a semolina pasta.
Fair. So let's go to salads. Shy, that was your standout.
Yeah, so I really liked the Fox Hollow Farm salad. It had greens, it had cucumber. They did a pickled red onion, which was a really nice balance to the richness of the pancetta and blue cheese and hard-boiled egg. Now, I will say I'm not usually a big fan of hard-boiled eggs at all, so I would probably get it without the egg next time, but everything worked really well. I liked the balance. It was delicious.
Now, Randy, you're into this hot honey. What's the deal with this?
Yeah, so each table has a couple of unlabeled bottles on it. They both
fancy.
look orange. One is a little creamier looking, and that is the habanero hot sauce. But the clearer liquid is a hot honey, which is just honey with some chili pepper steeped in it. And it made a great addition to the pizza.
Nice. So one of the things that stand out in a place like this that really is centered around pizza and bread. One thing is we all tried the sourdough. That was pretty amazing.
It was really good.
And with the pairing with the olive oil was really nice. But to make bread like that happen and to make pizza like this go, you've got to have a pretty great oven. Randy, you talked to Chef Chamberlain about that.
Yeah, so they have a giant 10,000-pound oven.
That's a lot of oven.
That is a lot of oven, and they keep it roaring hot. I believe Chef said that he hasn't seen it under 400 degrees in the past 2 weeks.
And they're not even fully open yet. They're just doing
exactly.
trial runs.
Yep. So first thing in the morning, they bake the bread when it's that lower temperature at 400. And then to actually cook the pizza, they crank it up to 650 degrees. So that'll cook a pizza in around 3.5 to 4 minutes.
One of the things that stood out for me with we were looking at the oven, talking to chef about their sausage, very simple sauces that they're doing with straightforward ingredients. One of the things I liked about this menu in general was that they didn't over fussy it. They didn't overcomplicate it. I think simple ingredients are underrated for a lot of folks. I think folks try to put in like 40 different things.
I do think that because their main focus is making sure that they're serving food that is in season, in the peak of the season, and then also trying to preserve items and different things from the farm so that way they can carry it on through the rest of the year when it's not in season, is really what makes this place special.
Because they actually have a cellar down below the restaurant that they'll be storing their preserved foods in.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. All right, before I wrap all this up, we've got to talk about the drinks. We had a couple of sample cocktails. Round robin. Randy, what did you think?
I just had a glass of Pinot Gris, so it was great.
Nice.
I had a fig and maple mixed drink.
It kind of struck me as a little more warmer weather than what we had this week.
Yeah, so it was okay. I probably wouldn't get it again, but I look forward to seeing what other cocktails they have on their menu once they officially open.
Well, you did bourbon and I did gin. And I really enjoyed mine. It was really fresh. It was very summery, kind of citrusy, very light. And that's really the best thing that you can do with gin. To me, gin is much more of like a warm weather kind of booze. And I know gin sometimes gets a knock from folks for being like a bathtub full of Christmas trees. But if you're doing it right, it's similar to vodka in that it can be a great canvas to paint on, especially for citruses and fruits and more fine flavors. And I think personally better than vodka. I definitely prefer gin over vodka. And I think it was really well executed.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed your drink.
I did. And I'm sure, having a look at your drink, I'm sure that in September with some fall leaves, I would be all about it.
Right. I think it just didn't fit the season.
All right. Final verdicts, everyone. First preview, of course. This is not official service. This was a throw open the doors and take a look at it. But for a first look, first snap, Randy, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up for sure.
Cheyenne.
Thumbs up.
And I'm a thumbs up as well. So, folks, be sure to check out the Bricks in Grosse Pointe Park. We will have a link in the show notes to the restaurant. Thanks, Cheyenne, Randy.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
All right, that'll do it for today's show. Tomorrow, Devin O'Reilly and Sven Gustafson are in to talk about some of Detroit's hotspots. And of course, there's always more on Your Daily Detroit. For Randy Walker, Shianne Nocerini, and Sven Gustafson, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.